Week 3 of the 2022 NFL season is officially in the books, no offense to Floyd Mayweather. There was so much exciting action and close battles that went down to the wire, and I'm going to review them all right after this.
I love you.
Cleveland versus Pittsburgh. If you thought that a battle between Mitch Trubisky and Jacoby Brissett was going to be a boring and forgettable Thursday night game on Amazon Prime, you were correct. Brissett, in typical fashion, did absolutely nothing memorable, but his stats were nice at least, throwing 2 touchdowns and a 109.6 rating. Trubisky, on the other hand, no offense to Darth Vader, was bad, although he did run for a score. Really, once Nick Chubb gave Cleveland a 23-14 lead early in the fourth, this game was over. Pittsburgh got several drives to try and close the gap and only managed a field goal with 2 minutes left to make it 23-17. The onside kick failed, but Pittsburgh did get the ball back for one last wild and wacky play to finish the game that ended with Cleveland scoring a touchdown off of a fumbled lateral to reach the 29-17 final score. Gamblers everywhere rejoice. Oh yeah, I just checked and Najee Harris still sucks ass. No offense to Dwayne Wade. Miami versus Buffalo. Josh Allen and Buffalo's offense has been on fire dating back to last year's playoffs. So when they marched right downfield on the opening drive to take a 7-0 lead, it looked like another blowout win was on the way. But a sack fumble on Buffalo's second drive set up Miami with a 6-yard touchdown drive to make it a 7-7 game. Allen, who supports driving naked, once again led Buffalo on a long touchdown drive to go up 14-7, but Tua didn't back down, no offense to the French, responding with a long-ass touchdown drive of his own to tie it at 14-14 late in the first half. Tua appeared to be heavily concussed on a hit late in the first half, but he did play the entire second half. Perhaps it was just a rogue marijuana fume he inhaled that caused him to temporarily faint. The second half was mostly a defensive battle, with Buffalo taking a 17-14 lead into the fourth before Tua led a go-ahead touchdown drive early in the fourth to go up 21-17. I must say, I am impressed with Tua thus far this season, but remember, Sam Darnold looked impressive early on last year starting 3-0, so I'm not ready to say Tua is out of the doghouse just yet. A long Buffalo drive ended at Miami's 2-yard line with 1:49 left, then Buffalo forced a 3-and-out when one of the best plays in NFL history happened. Miami's punter, Thomas Morstead, literally kicked the ball off of one of his teammates' ass cheeks out of the back of the end zone for a Buffalo safety to make it a 21-19 game with 1:37 left. Allen got Buffalo to around midfield, but the clock ran out before he could do anything. Buffalo offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey's freakout in the coach's box has become the stuff of legend, even though he looks like Will Forte doing a Tim and Eric skit. Only real ones will get that reference. Philadelphia versus Washington. I've been an Eagles fan since I was about 6 or 7 years old because Donovan McNabb was my favorite player growing up. So yeah, I might be a little biased when I say Jalen Hurts is the early MVP frontrunner for my 3-0 Eagles after destroying the Fighting Dan Snyder's 24-8. But he's also shown drastic improvement and been legitimately dominant so far this year. 340 yards passing and 3 touchdowns with no turnovers and a 123.5 passer rating in this one. Look, I know it's early, but when I watched Hurts at Alabama and Oklahoma, I never thought he'd be anywhere close to this good in the NFL. He's going to look so amazing holding up the Lombardi Trophy in February. I also never thought Carson Wentz's career would turn out the way it has. He was sacked 9 times in this game and generally looked lost. A good comparison for Wentz might be Drew Bledsoe, a highly touted draft pick who showed early signs of greatness, then got hurt, and his team won the Super Bowl without him. Wentz is also a high-volume, average efficiency quarterback like Bledsoe was. Does this make Hurts Tom Brady? What about Tony Romo? He replaced Bledsoe in Dallas too, don't forget. So then I guess Hurts is Romo because of the 0 rings and Nick Foles is Brady? Ugh, Eagles fans and our first world problems, am I right? Either way, we got a good quarterback, motherfuckers. Fly Eagles fly! Tennessee versus Las Vegas. A battle between two 0-2 teams ended up being a pretty entertaining game. The Titans' offense was absolutely on fire the entire first half, dropping 24 points to take a 24-10 halftime lead. However, all good things must come to an end. At least that's what assholes say. Tennessee didn't score a single point in the second half, but fear not, Titans fans. They were playing against Derek Carr, so their chances of winning were still pretty good. Vegas slowly chipped away at the lead though, making it 24-13 midway in the third. Carr then threw a brutal end zone interception early in the fourth, but Vegas added another field goal on their next drive to make it 24-16 with 3 minutes left. Vegas got the ball back, and on 4th down from Tennessee's 9, Carr found Mac Hollins for a touchdown to make it 24-22 with 1:18 left. In an incredible tribute to Tom Brady, Carr threw an incompletion on the potential game-tying 2-point conversion. Las Vegas' onside kick failed, and Tennessee won the game. Davante Adams has been turned into a bystander for an 0-3 team, but hey, he wanted to leave Aaron Rodgers, who, yes, is a bit weird, I get it, but he's also like a 1,000 times better quarterback than Derek Carr. Josh McDaniels is now 5-20 in his last 25 games as a head coach. But don't worry, McDaniels fans, no matter how many times he flames out as the head man, he can always go back to New England, where Daddy Belichick has the offensive coordinator position saved for him at a moment's notice. What a nice man that Belichick is. Indianapolis versus Kansas City. One of the biggest upsets of the year so far. 1 week after looking like a geriatric in a nursing home and a shutout loss to the Jaguars, Matt Ryan defeated Patrick Mahomes in this 20-17 thriller. A muffed punt inside the KC 5-yard line helped Indy jump out to a 7-0 lead on a Ryan touchdown pass. Then late in the first quarter, set up in Indianapolis territory off a strip sack, Mahomes fired a rocket to famous sex haver Travis Kelce, but the extra point was missed, so it remained 7-6 Indy. Indy added a field goal to go up 10-6 early in the second, but another strip sack on Matt Ryan. I am not having flashbacks to Super Bowl 51, guys. I swear to you, I'm perfectly fine. Set up KC inside the Indianapolis 25, which Mahomes capitalized on with a touchdown drive and 2-point conversion to give KC a 14-10 lead at halftime. The teams traded field goals to make it 17-13 late in the third, and then they began to exchange punts until Mahomes drove KC inside Indy's 20, where Kelce dropped a potential game-sealing touchdown. Then Kansas City missed a 34-yard chip shot field goal. With 8 minutes left, Matt Ryan finally nutted up and realized he's not a little bitch and led Indy on a long 8-minute touchdown drive to go up 20-17 with 24 seconds left. In an amazing troll job of the Buffalo Bills and their fans, Mahomes failed to get his team into field goal range of the remaining time and instead threw an interception to end the game. I'm so sorry, Bills fans. 13 seconds. Cincinnati versus the Jets. Fresh off of one of the most improbable and impressive wins in franchise history over Cleveland, maybe the Jets would use that momentum to turn their season around, and it's gone. Joe Flacco reverted back to being hot ass, throwing 2 interceptions and losing 2 fumbles. Joe Burrow had his best game of the season, which isn't saying much, throwing for 3 touchdowns. The Jets made this a 7-6 game in the first, but after Burrow threw a 56-yard touchdown in the last play of the quarter to make it 14-6, the game was never really close again. The Jets didn't even score a single touchdown, which is embarrassing in today's NFL where every rule is geared towards helping the offense. But fear not, Jets fans. The MILF Hunter will return next week. You know, the guy you drafted 2nd overall last year and was the worst quarterback in the league statistically. Doesn't that inspire confidence? No? Well then, on to the next game. Chicago versus Houston. The real loser of this game was the 2021 quarterback class, as both Davis Mills and especially Justin Fields looked like dog shit. Despite Fields putting up a stat line you'd see from 1940, the Bears managed to win 23-20 thanks to a great running game and bad turnovers from Houston. Chicago jumped out to a 10-0 lead after Khalil Herbert scored the first of his 2 touchdowns on the day. He ran for 157 yards and bailed Fields out big time. Houston would respond with back-to-back touchdowns to take a 14-10 lead before Chicago kicked a field goal to make it 14-13 Houston at halftime. 2 Houston field goals and another Herbert touchdown run made the game deadlocked at 20 heading into the fourth, where some atrocious offensive football was played. It started with a Fields interception, then a Houston punt, then a Chicago punt, then a Houston punt, then another Chicago punt, then finally Mills threw a terrible interception from his own 26-yard line with 1:14 left that set up a heroic 4-play, 0-yard game-winning drive that ended with a 30-yard Carlos Santos field goal. Through 3 games, Justin Fields has just 23 completions. What an amazing tribute to the best basketball player to ever wear the number 23, LeBron James. Atlanta versus Seattle. A very exciting and entertaining game that nobody outside of the 2 teams' fan bases gave a shit about because it was Marcus Mariota versus Geno Smith. The first quarter had a bunch of fireworks, no offense to Jason Pierre-Paul, with each team scoring a touchdown and a field goal to make it 10-10 after 1. Atlanta went up 17-10 on a Cordero Patterson touchdown run, but Seattle closed the half with 10 straight points, including Geno Smith's second touchdown pass of the game to put Seattle up 20-17 at halftime. The third quarter saw the 2 teams trade field goals before Marcus Mariota threw a touchdown to Drake London to give Atlanta a 27-23 lead heading into the fourth. The fourth quarter was a comedy of errors offensively for both teams. It began with a Seattle punt, then an Atlanta fumble, then Geno, who had been playing so well all game, threw a game-losing interception on 4th and 18 after sacks and penalties derailed a promising potential go-ahead drive. Both teams now sit at 1-2 and remain remain completely lost without any chance of ever winning anything important in the near future. If you root for either of these teams, run away as fast as you can now before it's too late. Minnesota versus Detroit. Primetime Kirk Cousins is a disaster, but Kirk Cousins in 1 p.m. games against losing teams like the Lions? First ballot Hall of Famer and super clutch. It didn't start out great for Minnesota in this one though, as Detroit jumped out to a 14-0 lead in the second quarter before Minnesota answered with 2 touchdowns of their own to make it a 14-14 game at halftime. Detroit dominated the third quarter, adding a touchdown and a field goal to make it 24-14 entering the fourth, but then Kirk said enough of this shit. He has a reputation to live up to, goddammit. He led Minnesota on 2 touchdown drives, the first to make it 24-21 with 8 minutes left, and the second coming with 45 seconds left on a 28-yard touchdown pass to KJ Osborne, no relation to Harry and Norman, to put Minnesota ahead 28-24. One last desperation drive by professional goofus who somehow has a smoking hot girlfriend, Jared Goff, ended with a Hail Mary interception to seal the win for Minnesota. Including the playoffs, Kirk Cousins' career record is currently 62-62-2. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. Jacksonville versus the LA Chargers. Trevor Lawrence has finally put together 2 good games in a row, throwing for 3 touchdowns and a 115.5 rating in this 38-10 blowout win over the Chargers. Have both Lawrence and the Jags officially turned the corner? It's too soon to tell on both, but I have nothing against Lawrence. Honestly, I want as much new blood as possible taking over the league from the likes of saggy balls Brady and weirdo Rodgers. Lawrence did his job well, but I can't say the same for Justin Herbert, who remains frustrating as his physical talent and A-game is as good as anybody to ever play. But thus far in his career, he's had too many confusing losses like this. The closest this game got was 16-10 Jacksonville early in the third, before Jacksonville ended the game on a 22-0 run. I know Herbert is hurt, and I am a huge fan of his, but if he is truly as great as many say, you can't get blown out at home by the Jags putting up only 10 points. The excuses will keep rolling in from his supporters, but if he's truly so hurt that it's affecting his performance, he shouldn't play. He now has a 16-19 career record, and at some point people will start asking for more wins, and they won't be unjustified in doing so. LA Rams versus Arizona. Who could have expected that a game featuring 2 of the best arms in the league in Stafford and Kyler Murray would have 0 touchdown passes? Well, I expected it because I'm absolutely amazing. I also knew the Rams were going to win 20-12 because I'm just that good. Cooper Kupp scoring a touchdown is not news, but Kupp scoring on a rushing touchdown? That is news, which is what the scrappy gym rat did in the first quarter to put LA up 10-0. The second quarter was all field goals, leading to a 13-6 LA lead at halftime. Arizona cut the lead to 13-9 with another field goal in the third, but LA responded with the Cam Akers touchdown to go up 20-9. Both teams failed to produce any offense in the fourth quarter until Arizona knocked another field goal to make it 20-12 with 107 left. Arizona's onside kick failed, dooming them to a 1-2 start that would be 0-3 if the Raiders weren't the Raiders. Meanwhile, the Rams are back to looking like themselves after a brutal opening night loss. Perhaps they were just too distracted by Queen Elizabeth's tragic death to focus on the game that night. She was so young. Carolina versus New Orleans. This game reinforced that just because a quarterback is drafted first overall doesn't mean they'll end up being good. Baker Mayfield versus Jameis Winston is the NFL equivalent of Markelle Fultz versus Andrew Wiggins. Carolina got things going with a 44-yard fumble return to go up 7-0 before kicking 2 field goals to take a 13-0 lead into halftime. Neither team did shit in the third quarter, so it remained a 13-0 game entering the fourth, where New Orleans finally got on the board with a Mark Ingram touchdown run to make it 13-7. Mayfield immediately answered with a 67-yard touchdown pass to give Carolina a 19-7 lead. Mayfield seems good for 1 long touchdown pass per game this season while doing absolutely jack shit before and after said touchdown. Carolina added a field goal off of a Winston interception, shocker, to take a 22-7 lead. Winston would throw a touchdown with 2:22 left to make it a 22-14 game and got the ball back at his own 1 with 17 seconds left. You're not going to believe this, but he threw another interception. Sean Payton should be put into the Hall of Fame right now for getting this asshole to put up an Aaron Rodgers-like touchdown to interception ratio last year. I'm serious. Baltimore versus New England. The Lamar Jackson FU tour continues as he absolutely shredded Rex Belichick's defense for 37 points in this 37-26 win. Jackson threw for 4 touchdowns and ran for a 5th. A victory wasn't always assured though, as the Patriots took leads of 10-7 in the second quarter and 20-14 in the third quarter. Baltimore then scored 17 unanswered to go up 31-20. But Mac Jones answered the bell with another touchdown drive to make it 31-26 Baltimore in the fourth. Then this game just got really weird. Baltimore fumbled, then Jones threw a terrible pass that was picked in the end zone. Baltimore punted, then Nelson Aguilar fumbled a long pass, stunning, I know, before Jackson finally penetrated, no offense to Ime Udoka, the Patriots end zone to go up 27-26 with 3 minutes left. Any New England comeback was extinguished when Jones threw his third interception of the day. Jones suffered a high ankle sprain late in the game and will miss some time, and while I don't like making fun of players' injuries, Jones acting like he just got his legs blown off storming the beaches of Normandy on D-Day was a little too much for me for a high ankle sprain. I'll tell you one thing, and I'm not ashamed to say it, my estimation of Mac Jones as a man just fucking plummeted. Belichick is now 72-81 without Tom Brady in his career. Green Bay versus Tampa Bay. Fox's America's Game of the Week featured a Super Bowl champion, future first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback who wears number 12 and has influenced so many young quarterbacks with his incredible arm talent and style of play. It also featured Tom Brady. While hyped up as a potential shootout, no offense to Waco, this game was actually boring as fuck after a couple drives. Tampa went up 3-0 on their opening drive before Aaron Rodgers led back-to-back touchdown drives to give Green Bay a 14-3 lead midway through the second. Green Bay looked poised to go up 21-3 late in the first half when Brady used his black magic to force an Aaron Jones fumble at Tampa's 2-yard line. From that moment on, Green Bay said fuck offense the rest of the game, which wasn't that surprising. What was surprising was Brady's inability to capitalize on Green Bay's ineptitude. 2 Tampa Bay fumbles by their wide receivers played a role, but Green Bay scored 0 points on their last 9 drives of the game. Finally, after putting up just 6 points on his first 11 drives, Brady started moving the ball once Green Bay began playing prevent defense for God knows why. Brady found Russell Gage for a touchdown to make it 14-12 with 14 seconds left, but after a brutal delay of game penalty, Brady fired an incompletion on the 2-point attempt, sealing the win for Green Bay and America at large. Any game that ends with Tom Brady losing and eating shit is an instant classic and should be cherished forever, in my opinion. Denver versus San Francisco. Let's be real, you don't give a shit about the details of this boring game that saw Denver win 11-10. Sure, there was a Jimmy G touchdown pass in the first quarter, and Melvin Gordon's go-ahead touchdown run with 4 minutes left to give Denver the lead for good, before San Fran's last 2 drives ended with a Jimmy interception and a fumble. No, the only thing this game will ever be remembered for is Jimmy stepping out of the back of the end zone, an Orlovsky, if you will, to give Denver a safety on the same play he threw a would-be pick 6. This play unsurprisingly set the internet on fire, and Jimmy G became a punching bag and target for endless jokes. Well, I'm here to let you all know that you should be ashamed of yourselves. If you actually look at the play, Jimmy was making an important and powerful statement. He literally put his foot down against racism. In all my years following the NFL, I've yet to see any quarterback, especially a 49ers quarterback, take such a brave and outspoken stance against racism in this country. So if you make fun of Jimmy for this play, you're basically saying racism is funny. To that I say, how dare you? I expect all of you to apologize to my beautiful Italian angel, and if you don't, you'll be hearing from me real soon. Dallas versus the New York Giants. Oh boy, a Cowboys-Giants primetime game featuring the legendary Dan Jones and Cooper Rush? I can't wait. A field goal contest broke out for the first 2.5 quarters as both teams kicked 2 of them to make it a 6-6 game. It wasn't until supporter of premarital coitus Saquon Barkley broke off a 36-yard touchdown run that something exciting happened in this boring-ass game. Ewok impersonator Zeke Elliott answered with a touchdown run of his own to make it 13-all entering the 4th, which is quickly becoming known as Cooper Rush time. Rush found CeeDee Lamb on an impressive snag to go up 20-13, then Dallas kicked a field goal to go up 23-13 with 6 minutes left. Dan Jones led New York on a field goal drive to make it 23-16 with 3:42 left, and even got the ball back with 1:45 left. Would Jones finally beat his primetime demons and live up to what a 6th overall pick should be? Nope, he threw an interception to lose the game in predictable fashion. If Nasty Man 11, aka Micah Parsons, spends his entire career with the Cowboys, he could end up being the best player in NFL history to never make a conference championship game. He's that good. Rush now has 3 game-winning drives in 3 starts and appears to be the most clutch quarterback Dallas has had since Aikman or Staubach. So please go back to Dak, I beg you. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, puppy time!